Hello and welcome, everyone. I am Mariah with Addicted to ROI. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing one of our founding members of the Addicted to ROI Inner Circle, and his name is Mike Morris. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Yeah, how are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm down in Texas, just north of San Antonio, and we've got a big storm rolling through today. So high humidity and torrential downpour tonight. So it'll be a first.
Yeah, I see Texas behind you right there.
You
Is
do?
that
Yeah.
okay, I thought I did.
You do.
Right.
Yeah, this is a new house we're moving into today. So
Wow.
that's the only piece of furniture we have right now is that sign up on the wall.
Well, hey, that's an awesome thing to move in there.
Yeah.
Now that you're moving to Texas. So you're moving from out of state though, right?
Well, we relocated from Seattle, Washington area last July. We moved down and got settled in. We rented for a year, and we just purchased this home and moving in now. So it's kind of exciting for us.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on your new home. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, let's dive in a little bit. Why don't we start with, what inspired you originally to get into real estate investing?
Yeah, it's great. So when I was growing up, actually, both my parents were entrepreneurs, and so that's I've always been surrounded by that. And I was a commercial fisherman in Alaska, and that was passed on to me from my dad. So I bought a boat and I was fishing up there, put myself through school, went to the University of Washington. And while I was finishing up school, my dad had a small business, and he built a light industrial 16,000 square foot commercial concrete tilt-up building. He built it, and he rented one space from himself. His business rented it from him. And so the way he explained it to me, he's like, "This is awesome. I take money out of my left pocket and I put it in my right pocket."
That's a good analogy. I like that.
Yeah, and he leased out the rest. And he told me, he's like, when I get this building paid off, this is my retirement. And so for 15 years, or maybe a little under, he put every dime back into paying off the loans on the building. And so I learned how I watched him, and I learned a little bit of commercial property management from him, and I was always out there helping him. So that kind of put the bug in me. And then I was fishing, completed school, paid my way through that, and then started working with him in the winter and decided, hey, I don't want to do what my dad was doing, his business. So I pivoted and I joined the fire department. I had a friend doing it and said, you'd be a great fit and you'll love it. And I saw his lifestyle, and so I was hired in that area and loved it. And then I watched my dad get his building payoff, and he retired, and he and my mom lived off the income from the building, and they have lived a great life. So that was always in the background for me. And then, I was slowly progressing in the fire department, moving up, and still enjoying it, but we had 3 kids, and I hit 47 years old, and I finally took a real hard look at my retirement, and I didn't want to be in that industry until I was 60 or older. As my wife said, nobody wants a 60-year-old fireman showing up to help them out.
Well, it's a very physically demanding job. I mean, so is fishing in Alaska.
Yeah, for that reason. So
yeah,
when in 2016. We moved in that area. We were east of Bellevue, and we moved into Woodinville. And I started listening I had read Rich Dad Poor Dad and some other books, and I started listening to Bigger Pockets. And I got into it, and I listened to it on the way to work. I listened to it on the way home. I was building a shed at our new house, and I listened to it every day. So I literally listened to like 230 episodes in a row. And I said, all right, it's time to take action. I've learned as much as I can from this. So I went online in a real estate meetup app, and I just said, what do I have local? And I was living in Woodinville and addicted to ROI, and Jennifer's group was meeting at the Pizza Coop in Woodinville. So I'm like, sweet, the worst thing that's going to happen is I have pizza and beer one night and I meet a few people.
Right.
So yeah, so I went, I met Jennifer, I met Dina, I loved everything I heard, and I connected with them, and a month later, Jennifer found a duplex for me up in Mount Vernon, a couple hours north, and it just happened to be on a street where she owned properties. So that was my first purchase. So in October, I closed on the duplex.
And she was your agent at the time then?
She was my agent.
That's awesome.
It might have been the last one that she was on, the last deal. And so it kind of progressed from there. That was the fall of 2017. 2018, I kept going to the meetups, I kept learning, and they started talking about out-of-state investing. And I think one of the first areas that they connected with was Oklahoma City. And I connected with agents there through Jennifer's group, and I met them, talked to them on the phone. I flew out there, saw what they were doing, and I ended up buying 2 single-family residences that spring through them. And that's where I learned about the BRRRR method, or I put it into practice. It was the first time I used hard money. I found a hard money lender through those agents. And so over a 3-month period, I was able to buy 2 homes. One of them I got all my money out of. And the other one I ended up having about 15 to 20,000 left in the deal, but not bad for having 2 single family residences in the Oklahoma City area. And they connected me with a property manager and got tenants in there, and I was slowly growing my portfolio. Meanwhile, while I was doing that, I kept listening to Bigger Pockets, and I got turned on to mobile home parks. I'm like, and when I heard about,
Beardy Brandon is like, he's all in on those, exactly. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's when he first started getting into it, and he's like, I'm starting this company and we're done. I'm like, all right, I better do this. So I went online and I found one, and it was 4.5 hours from where I lived. I connected with the broker, and I drove down there and looked at it. I met the owner, and it was all new to me. It's not all that different than buying a duplex or something like that. You just have it. It's like horizontal multifamily, and it was a 55 and older park, and the owner owned it for 15 years, and he got it from his father-in-law who built it. It was on it had 3 septic systems, so I wasn't super excited about that, but it didn't scare me away. Okay. And it had city water. So I was out of money at the time because I had just bought what I bought in the last 8 months. So I went to a family member and said, hey, do you want to partner on this deal? I got the deal. I will operate the deal, and we'll just go 50-50 partners if you could put down the down payment. So we did. So in June of 18, we closed on my first mobile home park, and it was 30 spaces, 55 and older, and it was a really clean property. So there wasn't a huge value add lift to clean it up. I didn't have to kick anybody out. It was 100% occupied. I found a couple that lived in the park, and I met them, talked to them, and they were interested in being on-site managers for me, which consisted of mowing the grass and reading water meters once a month. And then, whatever tenant issue might come up, they were my go-to people. And I gave them free lot rent, and and I paid them to mow the grass. That was the deal. And it worked out beautifully. Yeah, it worked out beautifully. So I managed when tenants would leave, I would fill the spaces. And so I learned kind of the ins and outs of managing a mobile home park.
So with this particular one, they own their own mobile home.
Yes.
Okay.
These were all tenant owned, so all I owned was the dirt. Where
Okay.
the home connects to the utilities in the ground, that's where I took ownership.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went in and I put a new fence up around the park, and then I resealed the asphalt, and it improved the aesthetics of the park considerably. And then all the lot rents were about $100 under market rent. So over the course of the next 3 years, I raised rents and got them up to market rent, which is one of the ways to increase increase value in your property. So yeah, but by doing that, it increased the value of the park by at least $300,000. So just by getting plus it allowed me to have cash flow to keep the park looking nice. So if you want a nice looking facility, you have to raise your rents to market rent, keep cash flow coming in.
Right.
Yeah, so that was 18. That was a big year for me, and also took me into 2019. I started managing my parents' building for him, because he was getting older, and he's like, "Man, I just can't do this anymore. Are you able to take over the management here?" I said, "Sure, no problem, Dad." So kind of took that over. And that was our 2019. And then 2020 was a big year for everyone, right? COVID hit, and it hit us all differently, right? Being in the fire service, we got hit with baseball bats, dealing with everything from,
yeah,
especially in that area. If you weren't vaccinated, you were going to get fired. So that was looming over everyone's head, and everything was new. So getting hit with that, and then managing my parents' building, I was starting to feel a little stressed with everything going on. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to hire a property manager for my mobile home park, and I'm going to let them take that over, because now I'm managing my parents' building for them. So by far, one of the best decisions I've made in the real estate world was hiring a good property management team for
Okay.
And it's not that it was killing me with how much time, but you're always thinking about it, and you're just waiting for the phone calls, and you're waiting, somebody's moving out, whatever, the things to deal with.
Right.
So, and the way it went about is a broker called me one day and said, "Hey, would you like a free evaluation of your park? We're brokers and we have buyers that are interested." I said, "Sure, I'll take the free evaluation, but I'm not interested in selling." And I started a relationship with the broker, and it turns out that she was a second generation mobile home park broker, and she and her sister were just starting another division of their company of property management. And so I ended up becoming their first client. And it all started from just taking their phone call and engaging with them. So hired the property managers, and the next thing that really hit us that year was my daughter, who was 16 at the time, was diagnosed with leukemia, and she's doing great now. She started college this year. She finished her treatments, so all is well today.
Good. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, but as you could imagine, in anyone with kids, I mean that's you can't think of anything worse to happen. So that hits you like a bucket of cold water. And at that point, I was so grateful that I hired the property managers, and
It's taking those things off your plate.
Taking things off the plate.
Yeah, and as you're talking about this journey, really, and you're bringing up obviously your daughter's illness, but also your parents getting older and retiring. Like, these are all things that all of us are dealing with, in our lives too, and that we have to figure out how to, also invest and figure out how we kind of incorporate it or live with, each of these things with the business of real estate investing. So yeah, it's something that everyone struggles with. And thank you for sharing
Absolutely.
those. Yeah.
Yeah, and our challenge was unique, but like you said, everybody has their own challenges that they have to navigate. And I saw real estate. My goal is freedom of time, freedom of location, and financial freedom through all of this. Like I had mentioned, I didn't want to be in the fire service till I was 60. I wanted to be done as soon as I could. As much as I loved it, I just recognized that physically I need to. So I wanted to hit 53 and be able to retire. So that was my goal. So as we started to navigate that with my daughter, and we had no idea what was going to transpire. If we were going to have to spend every dime in treatments and all that, and we had good insurance, medical insurance through the fire department, but still, it's a big unknown, and nobody has answers for you. It's all maybes, and it might, and it depends, and all that. So at that point, I said, all right, I got to simplify life a little bit, and I sold the duplex in Mount Vernon. And I'd also seen the light. The light went on for me with the mobile home park. So I wanted to focus on that market. And so I sold the duplex in Mount Vernon. I sold one of the Oklahoma properties. And that brought us into, and at the same time, my property manager came to me and said, Mike, I know you have a lot on your plate, but we found another park that you might be interested in. And they knew what was going on, and I said, guys, if you can do it, great, but all I can do is provide the down payment. You would have to do all the work to make it happen. And they said, no problem, we can do it. So that brought us into 21, and so January of 21, going through what we were going through, I was able to buy my second park. Wow. And it was because the property managers that I had, they were just fantastic people, and they made it happen. They put the deal together for me. So I bought another.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It was.
It's really all about relationships and networking with the right people, right?
Absolutely.
And they knew that you needed that support, and they were there to help support. That's really amazing.
Yeah, and that's really the second time that what you just said, really hit home with me and stuck. The first time was when I first came into the group and I met Jennifer and Dina, and a month later I had a property under contract. They were able to help me get started. And then in this time of, just call it family need, my other partners were able to, help me purchase another property. And so that kicked off, that was January of 21. And we had another family tragic thing happened where my dad got a tumor and he ended up passing away that spring.
Gosh.
But like you said, it's, some of these things are unique to my family, but we all go through these stages and phases of life, right? So navigating all of that, and COVID's still going on, and I'm looking back, and a couple of weeks ago in one of our group meetings here, Jennifer talked about, we just kind of went through the steps of, hey, let's reflect on what we accomplished this last month, 3 months, 6 months, year, and all that. And during that, my wife and I were able to look at, in spite of all this, tragedy, trauma, whatever you want to call it, there's good things happening, and there's good things happening in our life. And we are still on target. Because of this real estate journey, we are on target to meet our goal of me retiring at 53 and pivoting to do something else and maybe move or whatever. So I think it's important to do that periodically, as crazy as life can get. So that was kind of 21 for us, and that brought us into last year. And by this point, I had promoted to fire chief in our department. And
wow.
There was a whole bunch of political stuff involved, but I ended up in that position. And I absolutely loved the people that I worked with, and they were so incredibly supportive. my family going through the previous 2 years. And my goal in getting into that position was to merge my department with a neighboring department. So I gave it, I believed it could be done within 6 months, and I was a tiny piece of that puzzle, but we were able to make it happen. And because of that, June 1st of last year, I was able to retire from the fire department. I'd met all my goals, and I said,
Wow.
my wife and I talked about it, and we had looked at our real estate portfolio at the time, and that was able to supplement my pension so we could retire and not take a drop in our finances.
Right.
So
What age was that? Were you right on your goal, or were you early on your goal?
I was 6 months past my goal.
6 months.
6 months.
I don't know if we're going to count this 6 months.
Pretty good. Yeah. I round down and I hit my goal. Right. So I guess the one thing I left out was in last summer, the market was still high and rates were starting to creep up. So I decided, hey, I want to see what I can get for the first park that I bought. So I put it on the market and got a buyer right away. And based on what they were willing to pay, I felt I would be pretty foolish to pass up on it. So that first park, after 4 years, we did extremely well with it. So we sold that. And I guess the other piece on my real estate journey was talked with my mom and laid out a bunch of options and ideas with the building. I was still managing her building, and talked to her about taking advantage of where the market was, and we ended up selling that one as well.
Okay.
And so the last 8 months, I've been reinvesting the money from that building into different syndications and funds. So that's kind of been my real estate journey. And in the last year, 8 months, I've been learning about syndications and funds and the returns on those. And
Okay.
so that's kind of, I've pivoted my new goal, and that my new goal is to have everything invested in syndications and funds, and to have one or two.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, it's been all passive so far. It's been all passive. And I figure, well, if I can pick wisely and 90% of them work out as planned on paper, then it'll be a home run and very passive. And then I'd like to keep one or two deals going a year, active deals, and get the benefits from bonus depreciation and
Right.
appreciation and all those things a year. And I have to do something. So, and I love doing it. So.
Wow, Mike. Well, there's so much to unpack here.
Sorry, I took up all the time talking about it.
No, this is an amazing journey that you've had. I mean, you've been through a lot. You've been through the ringer there in personal life, but it sounds like everything really, more or less worked out in the end, becoming fire chief, being able to retire. Your daughter, you said she's graduating and off to college, or
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. She's suffering over at the University of Hawaii.
Oh,
Doing well.
terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awful place to go to school.
Yeah. She's doing well.
Oh, amazing. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, I do want to bring up something that you had said, because we have been within the membership, we've been talking a lot about gains. And Jennifer has, brought that kind of to light, and really thinking about your accomplishments, no matter how small they are, towards your goals, right? And so all of those little gains add up, and we don't need to be so worried about not hitting these big wins, not getting under contract, not doing these really big things. That we do need to be aware of all the small steps that leads up to those big wins as well. So I'm glad that you brought that up, and I think that it's a very, very important thing to kind of put into your day-to-day life, just like obviously, gratitudes and being grateful for things, and that it adds into it too. If you can think, okay, well, over the last 30 days, I, you know, read this book, or I attended, this challenge. We've got our challenges. There's a lot of challenges out there, going on, but networking, going to these events, there's tons of conferences all the time, or even just like you said, you found the little meetup, and, you were able to really, it was a, pivotal part of your real estate journey. So, all of those things are gains, and all of those gains, allow us to reach those higher wins and get to where we want to get to. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Yeah.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And obviously it was that first meetup that I went to where I met Jennifer and Dina, and that started this landslide for me. I went to a different commercial real estate group last June, and got some great education, met some neat people, kept in touch with two of them, and now I'm doing deals with both of those individuals. And I had no idea at the time. I just sat down at a table next to them and just started chatting. So you never know what's going to pop from the work you're putting in, whether it's a book you're reading, the meetup you're going to. I went to our group back in February and met some fantastic people, and I know things are going to come from that. So,
yeah. Are you talking about the summit?
Yes, the summit. Yeah, absolutely. So you just need to keep taking action, doing what you can wherever you are in life, and I think it'll lead to achieving those goals that you want.
Yeah. Yeah. Being a part of this inner circle membership as well, just like you said, it's so many people in our group that are doing these strategies. There's a few of them that are doing, the same strategy as you are, but everybody's in there, we're such a kind of welcoming group, and everybody's very much into networking with each other. And there's been so many partnerships and deals and things that have come out of our group, that it's fun to hear that you have, met so many people within our group to be able to help you on your journey as well. And it's been really awesome seeing you you're so active in the group, seeing you on our community calls and things like that too. Love it.
Yeah, the other thing I will add is I'm a generalist. I am not an expert at any one of these things. I'm just willing to take action because, with my boating background, you can't steer a boat without moving. You have to move first, and then the propulsion, you can turn the rudder and you can steer, right? It's like a car, no different, right? So I'm just a big proponent of do what you need to do to take action, but at some point you have to put the books down and take some action. And as long as you don't put all your eggs in one basket at the very, very beginning, you're going to be okay.
Yeah. Well, I know that you said that you are kind of gearing more towards the syndications and the, pure passive investments, but you are still actively investing in parks and things currently, or no?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So tell us your kind of near future goal, your 2023 and beyond.
Yeah. So that's my long-term goal, and maybe it's 10 years, maybe it's 5 years, the syndications and the funds. I've already started investing in some, and that's how I want to diversify my portfolio. But right now I had 3 deals under contract. I flew out recently, I had an RV park because this is a new niche for me. But I have a partner out in California, and I flew out, met with him, and we drove out to see it. And there was a couple of things that concerned us, so we decided to pull out of that deal. Okay. It was the $5 million view on the ocean. It was just insanely beautiful, but a lot of the income was dependent on their deli/restaurant, and we didn't want that to be the focus of having a mom that had a restaurant for 17 years. I did not want that to be the focus of the majority of our revenue. And
Yeah.
also,
Those are a bit more risky, right?
yeah,
So I've heard.
like
Yeah.
90% failure rates. And then access into that area. It was a 2-lane road, one way in, one way out. And it was super windy and challenging for campers and motorhomes.
Okay.
So we saw that as a big red flag. So we decided to pass on that deal. One of the folks that I met last summer at an event, we have partnered on a multifamily 20-unit deal in North Carolina. So that one's under contract, and we're going through due diligence on that. And then I partnered with my property managers, 50-50 partners, and we're buying another mobile home park in Oregon. So that one's under contract and appears like that one's going to close. So super excited about that one. Big value add that we can turn around in a short period of time, and that'll be
amazing.
Yeah. So that's what's happening right now, and hey, that would be my 2 deals this year, but I just want to keep going. It's fun, and I'm still learning and growing.
Yeah, it's an addiction. It is. I know.
Good, healthy addiction.
Can't stop.
Yeah, and I've got, I have kids between 11 and 19, and I want to teach them this stuff that you don't learn in school, and that there's ways to do really well in life without going to college if they choose not to do that, or to supplement whatever career they have. And in this world of real estate investing, you always hit a point where the reality is you run out of your own money. And then how are you going to do deals? So as I get very close to that point, that's another growth area for me, is to partner with other individuals, raise money if need be, and do more deals. So I'm kind of, for 23, I see myself transitioning into that area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at so many of the successful people that we follow, whether it's Jennifer or Brandon or you name it, they get to a point where they are, utilizing private money, they're utilizing partnerships, they are, to grow to that big, you are going to have to get to that point. And it's a pretty hard hurdle for people, I think. But that's the one thing that I really appreciate and love within our community too, is that, again, we're a pretty strong network of individuals, and I've seen some really great partnerships, whether it's private money lender in there, or whether it's JV partnerships, equity partnerships. There have been some really cool partnerships come out of our group, and I love seeing that. We're friends and partners in this, and it's pretty fun to watch. So I love it. And thank you so much for sharing all of this journey with us. And I can't wait to hear about all of these things that you have going on, these 2 that you have under contract. I can't wait to hear more about that, of course, in the forum, and follow along on this journey. Is the one in North Carolina, is that one also a park, or is that a multifamily?
It's a multifamily. Yeah. It's 19 multifamily units in one commercial space.
Okay.
Yeah. Very excited about that. So, utilizing door profit to do some of my due diligence, and, from the start, and great tools that we have within the group. And in addition to the folks, it's been fantastic.
Yes, everyone that's going to be on the multifamily challenge will definitely hear more about door profit.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you again so much. And where can viewers find you if they want to connect with you and network and ask questions?
The best place is our website, Addicted to ROI. Right now, I mean, and that's the next thing. My daughter, for me, is my daughter's coming home from school. She's like, "Dad, we got to get your social media squared away." So I'm gonna work with you, because she's in marketing, right? She's like, "I'm gonna work with you. We're gonna get your social media presence dialed in, and so it's not the shotgun approach." I'm like, "All right, man, I need your help." So through the Addicted to ROI website is the best way.
All right. All right. Yeah, our kids are they're the best with all the tech.
Yeah.
They're worlds ahead of all of us, I swear.
Yeah. Yeah. That's for sure.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for watching our interview. And you can definitely catch the replay here, right here in the group. And thank you, Mike. I will see you soon. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Mariah. Appreciate it. Thank you all.